Okay, lesson 27 is your last lesson for this chapter on dilatations. And now the only difference is that we're actually putting it into something that you can actually see in the real world, which would be like your scale drawings of maps. For example, like your famous GPSs that we have integrated in our cars, maps, architect plans, something like, you know, huge, big in the real world, a building, and it's scaled down to size on paper or as a model. Also the opposite, right? Something that you cannot see with the naked eye, but it would be magnified super, super, super big so we could actually see it, right? So let's take a look at these notes. Now, some of these you might have seen in geography class also. So reproductions are scales such as plans, maps, models. Use the concept of enlargement or the concept of reduction. The scale allows for a comparison of dimensions, reproduction and dimensions of the initial image. That just means, hey, real world, put it on paper, like a map or a model. So these are all different kinds of ways that you might see it. You might see it as a ratio. The corresponding 2 centimeters is really actually equal to 7 kilometers in the real world. That's exactly how our GPSs scale everything down perfectly. They have it down to a minute. So the only difference between, it's the same language. They actually sometimes use just one little word that's different, is that, but I keep it so that you understand that it's the same kind of wording as what we're used to. So for example, my reproduction is my image. It's like my photocopy. This will often be the map or the model. The initial one is my real world, real. So notice that it's still my formula, I to O, that we're so used to. But we're just using the map concept, the reproduction, the photocopy, compared to the real world, the original little bug that they've magnified in a biology book, or a huge 25-story building scaled down to something that's only like 1 foot high as a scaled model. So examples. Sometimes they give you everything, and sometimes you have to use a ruler, okay? So for example, if they gave you everything, now this just means corresponds with, okay? Should have wrote that here. That means there's my rate, my ratio, right? 2 centimeters, which is really tiny on paper, really represents 100 kilometers in the real world. And if you zoom in and out of Google Maps, your scale will obviously change. Now, they're telling you that, okay, if that's my rate here, I want to know my 2 centimeters on the map. Well, my 2 centimeters, my map, my image, my photocopy goes on top. We were so used to that from proportion chapter, cross, multiply, and divide. Now, this one's obviously an easy one because it's a nice, easy ×3 scale factor, also ×3 scale factor. If you want, you could do it that way, or you can definitely do cross, multiply, and divide to get your final answer there of 300 kilometers. When you don't have, you need to measure with your ruler. When you measure with your ruler, so I need to get my ruler out. I should have already had it out, but now I have my ruler, I'll bring it down. So have your ruler out and go measure that line. And it's very close to the number 8 centimeters or 8.1 centimeters, depending on how picky you are there. Now, I want to be very picky. So I want to be as precise. And now when you have a big dot like that, just try to put your ruler right in the middle of that big dot. And when you measure yours, it will be, now I'm sizing my ruler to match yours. So mine is very, very, very close to like an 8 or an 8.1 centimeters here, okay? 8 or 8.1 centimeters, anything very close to it. Really depends on where on that the big black dot that you are actually measuring it, okay? So there is my scale, okay? I have 8.1 on paper. Now somewhere else on your paper, you should have, I can't remember where it's placed on your paper, but you should have a little line here somewhere, and this on your paper. You need to measure that also. because they're telling you that this is representing 5 kilometers. When you measure this for rule with your ruler, it's giving you very close to a perfect 1 centimeter. There's your ratio. So I'm going to go 1 centimeter to 5 kilometers. And because I measured this on my map, my paper, that's going to give me about, let's say 8, keep it simple, to how much. So once again, cross, multiply, and divide, and you would get an answer of 40 kilometers. So anything close to 40 kilometers, because you are using your ruler, it might give you a little difference. So this lesson really, if they gave you all the stuff, then just make a proportion. If you're missing information, that means you need to take your ruler and actually measure your paper or your map to see exactly what the scale is.